There has been a long-standing adversarial relationship between IT and the engineering staff. And one of the causes for that adversarial relationship is that the IT folks, when they see IT assets, they want to be able to monitor those assets and control those assets. And when the engineering folks hear that or understand that IT wants to do that, there's a fear that IT is going to somehow impact their systems. So it starts with the level of distrust, and it kind of starts with the IT side is seen as how they respond in the desktop environment, and sometimes that's not what is felt to be a friendly response. And the engineering folks have to keep the plants running 24/7, 365 days a year, and there's just a concern that that control and management will somehow impact the operations of the process. There are differences between IT systems and the factory floor or the process control systems. Those differences are related to something called the confidentiality, integrity, and availability triad. And in the IT space, all three are important, but there's more of a focus on confidentiality to protect the intellectual property of the company. In the process space, the focus is more on availability and integrity, making sure the system's available 24/7, that the data that's flowing across that system is correct, and not so much a concern about confidentiality. So we end up with a conflict in priorities between the two organizations, and that's where the dialogue has to start, is how do we work through those priorities and understand those priorities and meet the needs of each organization. How much is common between IT standards and the process standards? In other words, where are the differences and how big are the differences? And in the work that we've done with many of our customers, we found that somewhere between 80 and 90% of the IT practices that are applied on IT systems can be applied directly on their process control systems. There's a 10 to 20% difference, and it depends on the company's operating policies and procedures that have to be applied slightly differently on the manufacturing systems. And that 10 to 20% can normally be covered in something called an IT exception spec. And in Hnywl, where we own and operate our own chemical plants, we found that those IT exception specs are not that big when we look at the difference between what our IT standards are and what's required on our own manufacturing systems. Open systems bring a lot of security issues, but the biggest security issue with open systems is they're used in the IT space. And because they're used in the IT space, the bad guys out there are trying to break into those systems to steal company secrets or steal information that can be used to their benefit. Those techniques, in many cases, can be used on the manufacturing systems as well. So that's a set of risks that come. But some additional risks that come with manufacturing systems that aren't in IT systems, because of the vulnerabilities that are in the systems, they need to be patched regularly with security updates, and that creates an issue with manufacturing systems because a patch means some form of downtime. Well, the bad guys are always trying to stay one step ahead of the good guys. The bad guys are looking around on the internet, they're looking for 0 days, they're looking for ways to break into the systems. Some of the things that manufacturing and IT can do to keep them out of the manufacturing systems is put layers of defense above the manufacturing systems. Make it so you have to get through the IT systems first before you get into the manufacturing systems. Also limit who the manufacturing systems can talk to. There's no reason for a manufacturing system to need to talk outside the corporation or out onto the internet. So don't let it talk out onto the internet. It should also be very well understood who on the intranet the manufacturing system needs to talk to, and configure your firewalls and your routers such that only those relationships take place, so that you can isolate the traffic and then monitor that traffic if you can. And if you start to see extra traffic, raise the alerts. There's been talk of putting something like a honeypot, a node, a Windows node, or some kind of box on the manufacturing system that has no purpose. And the minute something tries to talk to it, raise an alert because somebody's trying to get into your system. Security is a moving target, and that has been one of the challenges that we've had with manufacturing systems, is the fact that we have to constantly update and patch the systems to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. Also, moving to open systems. Open systems has a life. There's a life cycle to an open systems platform. Microsoft Windows platforms are typically only good for 10 years. And at the end of 10 years, the life of that specific release of Windows is no longer supported. So we have to keep updating these systems to stay up to date with the platforms that they're on. No one person is an island, and when it comes to the two sides, IT and manufacturing or engineering, they are learning that they have to work together. And it's important that they do work together. The engineers know how the plant operates, and they know what it takes to operate the plant. The IT folks understand the IT assets better than anyone else. And something that would be really an important lesson to learn from the IT industry is there's IT specialists, there's firewall specialists, there's router specialists, there's intrusion detection specialists, Windows specialists. There's not one person in IT that can do it all. And trying to do it all for maintaining the security of a manufacturing system just can't be done by one person or one engineer. Some of the ways that the two camps can come together and learn to work together is the engineering people could invite their vendors to join with them and do an assessment, a cybersecurity assessment of their systems, and invite the IT folks as well. So now we have a three-way partnership. We have the IT folks, we have the manufacturing folks, and we have the vendors working together to make an assessment of the cybersecurity of the system. We do that in Hnywl, and we found that that's a very successful way of getting the two groups to come together. For companies to consider security on the same lines as safety, it's going to be a huge culture change. It has occurred in a few companies. There are a few companies out there who do classify security and safety at the same level, but that few is very small, and they kind of keep it to themselves. It's going to take something probably like a Stuxnet to have a major type of safety impact that's publicly seen and publicly disclosed, and then the awareness will start to work its way through.